Tonight, a bill on transgender athletes now goes to the governor. About an hour and a half ago, lawmakers voted to pass LB 89 in a 33-16 vote.
Omaha Senator Kathleen Kauth introduced the bill. The bill was created to restrict transgender athletes from participating in sports that align with their gender identity. Earlier this month, when lawmakers were debating the bill in the second round, lawmakers adopted Ralston Senator Merv Reepe's amendment. That amendment removed the part of the bill which would have banned transgender people from being able to use bathrooms that align with their gender identity in schools and state buildings.
LB 89 is not about shutting doors, it's about opening the right ones. Co-ed or mixed teams remain available for all, ensuring everyone has a chance to compete. The bill also protects schools from legal backlash, as Section 6 prevents complaints or investigations against institutions that uphold these fair policies.
What I think has gone unanswered at certain times by the proponents of this bill is how it's supposed to work. This bill is such a Frankenstein, cobbled together, let's slap some tape on it and see if it makes it across the finish line bill, that a simple read of the pages shows that it doesn't make any sense at all. It is unenforceable, unintelligible, and so unconstitutionally vague that I don't understand what it's supposed to do.
Governor Jim Pillen put out a statement immediately after lawmakers passed LB 89. He says, in part, quote, "This legislative win will lead to many more victories for Nebraska's female athletes as we ensure a level and fair playing field for all girls who compete." The governor adds he looks forward to signing it into law.
The ACLU of Nebraska sent this statement to us tonight after the vote. Executive Director with the organization, Mindy Rush Chipman, says, quote, "Every young person deserves the freedom to be themselves at school. This ban sends a crushing message to young trans Nebraskans and slams the door shut for some kids to fully participate in their school communities."